something on that has not been done before. But when we say we wish to see significant progress in ASEAN community building in 2011, it's not only about outcome documents in the sense of declarations and plans of actions. We just wish to do more concrete things. I think ASEAN has enough plans of actions. We need to see more of the actions and less of the plans. And that's why we chose to do it in that way. And thankfully, thanks to the engagement by the two foreign ministers, Thailand, Cambodia, we were able to have an ASEAN script, an ASEAN answer to the situation. And although we were all summoned to the Security Council on the 14th of February, when we gathered in New York, it was already with the full knowledge that on the 22nd of February we will be having that ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting. And there was already a next step that we had planned for, and therefore what the Security Council did was to simply rally around the ASEAN script. Now, the ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting last February resulted in two key to-do lists. One is the continued avoidance of armed conflict. The term avoidance of armed conflict is one of those nice diplomatic words to avoid the words ceasefire. Because some of us are quite alert to avoiding to use the word ceasefire in the document. So we use simply the words avoidance of armed conflict. And between February to last week, we managed to maintain the avoidance of armed conflict, notwithstanding the fact the observer, Indonesian observer team, not a mission, it's a team, is yet to be assigned, not deployed, assigned to the border. They will be wearing civilian uniform, not military uniform. Though I'm told by my Cambodian colleagues, on their side of the border, they are welcome to wear the full military gear if they wish to. But in any case, we stick with the uniform, civilian uniform. In any case, notwithstanding the absence of the IOT, Indonesian Observer Team, thankfully since February, the situation at the border area remained stable, have remained peaceful until several days ago. The second concern has been on the political process, namely the negotiations itself. On and off, and finally, on the 7th and 8th of April, the JBC, the Joint Border Committee between Thailand and Cambodia, met in Bogor, again after a lengthy debate whether it will be in Phnom Penh or in Bangkok, or whether it will be bilateral or trilateral or any other form, shape and form. But as is often the case, through constructive ambiguity, we managed to get things done. It was held in Bogor. Bogor was the venue, and therefore it is only normal and proper that Indonesia as the venue, I'm not using the word host for the reasons. These are all the key words. As the venue of the meeting, I had to be at the Bogor Palace. Otherwise, how could the delegation know where things are? So I'm around the vicinity of the meeting rooms, but it turns out that our role was more than simply showing where the coffee and teas are, but we have to do a little bit more substantive work in that regard. So that was good until last Friday. In other words, the situation at the border remained stable relatively. Peace process had begun. And of course, as is usual with these things, it always takes place over a long weekend. On Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's always the case. Crises always happen on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That is the fact of life. It began, and of course, like usual, I made calls, and I've been making constant calls and communication with the two foreign ministers. They are truly men of honor. I wish to emphasize that point. They are very reliable partners, reliable colleagues, and I trust their words when they make commitments. I was meant to be in Bangkok and Cambodia yesterday. I had meant to leave Jakarta with the 5 o'clock flight to KL and arrive in Cambodia at 11, and arrive in Bangkok at 3 and back in Jakarta at 12. I could have done one round, last minute, I thought the situation was not exactly propitious for that travel to be made yesterday, because I felt the two sides was more keen on having a bilateral solution by exchanging artillery fires. So there's no point being there if that's not going to stop. I don't wish to put myself, the chair of ASEAN, not Indonesia, I don't wish to put the chair of ASEAN in a situation where, despite the presence of the efforts, situation was still as it was. So I thought it's best, less is more, having a bit of a pause in our diplomatic push. But I'm glad to hear yesterday that Minister Kassim will be coming to Jakarta on this issue on Thursday. I had just been in touch with Deputy Prime Minister Hong. Hopefully he can also come by Jakarta as well. I don't know what his travel plans are. In other words, we have the ASEAN Summit coming up in barely over a week's time. It would be ideal if we have a script, a proper script once again before the summit. Otherwise, the summit will be consumed by this particular issue. It is unprecedented. We know when we proceed, we have to proceed with a great deal of awareness that it could be applied to any one of us in ASEAN. This is a bilateral problem, needing bilateral solution, but with regional encouragement. And that's why when we prescribe solutions to Thailand and Cambodia, we have to be aware it can be exactly the same kind of solution that is to be prescribed to us one day in a bilateral setting. So I have to be very measured and very deliberate and thought through in our strategy. I mentioned about the careful use of words, avoidance of armed conflict, and the like. Our role at this time depends on which documents that you read. In the ASEAN statement of the foreign ministers last February, it describes Indonesia, current chair of ASEAN, not as chairman of ASEAN. I'm not sure who the chairman of ASEAN next year will be. I'm told it's Cambodia. So this role we are playing is as current chair of ASEAN, not as chair of ASEAN. But in any case, that's semantics. That's quite relevant as well. So that's one current affairs issue. The other two I'd like to very quickly mention. They don't really fall neatly under the three priorities that I mentioned, but nonetheless very important, I think. The other one is Myanmar. I don't know whether we have colleagues from Myanmar here. If not, in any case, as you are aware, the Myanmar dossier has been with us for some time. We are keen to have some kind of, not quite closure, but at least certain important development this year, post-release of Aung San Suu Kyi, post-quote elections in Myanmar. So we need to be, the last time the ASEAN foreign ministers met in Bangkok last week, Myanmar is supposed to receive the ASEAN chair to Myanmar to obtain certain impressions about what's happening in Myanmar. I've been in contact with Aung San Suu Kyi on a regular occasion, and I always share those conversations with all my ASEAN colleagues. In other words, Aung San Suu Kyi is part of the solution in Myanmar, or of Myanmar, and not part of the problem. And that is why we are keen to get her thoughts channeled through to ASEAN discussions. I had received invitations to go to Myanmar before the summit. Supposed to have been tomorrow, I think, the next couple of days, but because of conflicting schedules, I will not be able to go there before the summit. As you are aware as well, Myanmar had asked to be chair of ASEAN in 2014 in lieu of Laos swap. But in Myanmar case, their original deferment was not a technical issue. There was a thought behind that deferment. So the leaders will have to analyze whether that situation is now good to go in terms of the original reservations. The third topical issue, just very quickly, is South China Sea. Again, an issue that we wish to have a closure on, hopefully, this year. We have been at it for some time now, these so-called guidelines on this declaration of Code of Conduct, I think it's called. And I think they've been at it for more than 3 or 4 years, the senior officials. And last January in Lombok, I thought it might be useful just to have a look at these guidelines that we have been working very diligently on. To my impressions, the guideline doesn't really say anything much, to be honest. And yet we have been spending so much energy and time on the issue. So last time when I met with Foreign Minister of China last week, I suggested either we quickly conclude the guideline now, or we might even work towards the Code of Conduct itself, whatever this Code of Conduct is meant to be. Because I'm not sure what is the difference between the guidelines and the Code of Conduct. But it's important to lock the issue now, hopefully before July ASEAN Regional Forum, and most certainly before the East Asia Summit of November, because we don't want to see this issue continue to overshadow ASEAN-China relations. So those are 3, Pak Dimas, so-called current issues, hopefully current enough, in terms of Thailand, Cambodia, Myanmar, South China Sea, on top of the other points that my colleagues have mentioned on ASEAN and Indonesia as chair. Thank you.
For your information, Pak Marty, unlike ASEAN, the ANM has not admitted Myanmar as a member. No, we have not. I don't think we will in the very near future. Pak Marty has very kindly agreed to allow for a couple of questions. As an editor, as a journalist, of course, we don't like any sort of censorship, but as a chief editor, I will use my levy for some editing in which one of the questions must not relate to the Cambodia Thailand. So if there are 2 questions, my colleagues, they would like to ask.
The Chinese Premier with Davao there's already one of the issues.
What are the issues? Well, I don't want to preempt the leaders' discussion. Of course, in a meeting of this type, it really is up to the leaders to raise whatever issues that they wish to raise. But at our level, at the ministerial level and at the senior officials level, when we prepare for this visit, there are certain dimensions that comes to mind. First is obviously how to make even more comprehensive and deeper the ASEAN, China-Indonesia relations in all spheres, political, especially economic, trade relations. And on trade, as you are probably aware, there has been some footnote or dynamics on this issue in terms of the impact of the ASEAN-China free trade area. I'm sure Ibu Marty would have spoken about this earlier. So that's one issue. But the more important point, I think, is that both Indonesia and China recognizes that our bilateral relations is important not only for its own bilateral sake, but also within the regional context. And therefore, when we deepen our bilateral relations, it is with in mind the state of the region's architecture. We are having continued frank and candid discussion on what East Asia Summit should be all about. There is just now quite intensive debate whether the East Asia Summit, as Indonesia would propose this year, focus on so-called strategic and political issues. China has its own view on the subject matter, but that's certainly a very important issue as well. ASEAN, China, Indonesia, and China, Indonesia in the UN context as well. We have been discussing intensively on UN reform, Security Council reform especially, how a reform council should look like, and whether a country like Indonesia can contribute. Those are some of the points.
Second question, very quickly.
This is from